experience in EdTech, AI, and STEM education. I have had the privilege of designing learning programs, training thousands of teachers and its students with collaborating institutes from 70 plus countries. Throughout my career, I have worked closely with educators, learners, and organizations to drive meaningful technology enabled learning experiences. I'm excited to be your host for today's session and look forward to guiding you through the engaging and insightful event. I would like to welcome Tina Wang, the CEO and founder of MentorMind Education.
All right, thank you for a very good introduction. So thank you, Vivek. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to our workshop today for AI for entrepreneurs. So it's fantastic to see such a diverse community joining it as fellow founders, aspiring entrepreneurs, innovators, and professionals. So as you've been probably introduced, I'm an international educator, educational researcher, edtech founder, and I've taught with experiences internationally from all the way North America to Asia and the UK the past couple of years. And my interest stems from my research on educational leadership at the UCL Institute of Education. Before becoming a founder, I became increasingly interested in how innovation is adopted, how organizations navigate change, and how emerging technologies can be implemented in ways that create meaningful impact. So MentorMind began from that question. How can we use AI responsibly to improve outcomes and support people? Over the past year, this idea has evolved into a growing venture. We participated in programs including the UCL Explore and recently accepted into the UCL Hatchery. We also piloted our platform with multiple schools in London and internationally and presented at events such as BETS, AI Education Summit, and more recently at Oxford University. We've been invited as part of the Achieving Education community on AI in education, and bring together founders through initiatives such as the Founders Under Pressure workshop, which we have hosted previously in February with great success. So we are looking to build this community of founders that are working together to create a safe space to learn from each other through experts and share experiences, exploring these opportunities and challenges of AI together. And today, our workshop will continue our commitment to creating a safe space. So whether you're exploring a new idea, building a new startup, or growing your business, or just curious about the future of AI, I hope it provides some practical insights for you and you can take away and apply immediately. And we'll also have some time as well, so feel free to ask questions from me as well, or from Mark, or from Vivek, from our diverse group of founders too. So it'll be time to network to each other. And most importantly, we hope you enjoy it, and thank you for joining us. I'll hand this over to Mark, who will be our key speaker for today.
Thank you very much, Tina and Vivek. I've started to share my screen. Let me know if you can see it.
Yep, we can. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So in the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to show you how to use AI to reach your first 100K in revenue. And to do this, I'm going to break down actually what the practice of business entails. So like if you're sitting at home with an idea right now, with no customers, you'll lead with a step-by-step path from going to zero to a profitable, repeatable workflow. And at every stage, I will show you how AI will accelerate that particular stage. So just to make a bit more sense, I'll show you the visual in a minute. And I'm going to point to the actual tools that I use for my business. And I know that some people have been sharing their startup ideas already, which is fantastic. Please continue to do so that I can understand what you guys are building. But it's important to note that I run service-based businesses rather than product-based businesses. So many of you are in that startup world trying to raise funding. I see someone said they're pre-seed, but I believe that the underlying principles hold regardless. So a bit about me is that I run this company called The Design Engineer, and I provide AI training for non-technical teams. And I started my entrepreneurial journey in 2025 after I quit my very long career as a software engineer. And I gave myself a 2-year self-funded runway to learn about business like in real life. And I said, if by the end of 2 years, if I didn't really make out, then I get a job. But by month 9, I'd hit 100K in revenue. And then my second son arrived, so I went on an extended paternity leave. And when I returned to work, I started this business that you're seeing on the screen right now. So this talk that I'm going to give you in the next 30 minutes or so is going to be split up into 3 parts. I'm going to talk about AI in business and how you use it and where to apply it, and actual tools that I use to make it as much as concrete as possible. And then I'll talk about automation in business. And I go through this framework of you should learn what you're trying to automate first, systemize it, which is essentially creating an SOP. And then you can use a tool like Zapier, Make, or N8N to actually automate it. And I like to go through that workflow. And that's exactly how we're going to do this kind of interactive part of that section. So I mentioned I'm going to talk about like what the practice of business entails. And I think that's important when you're talking about AI, is because then we can separate where we can apply AI. And excuse me, when we got something in my throat. And when we talk about, I said this tall order at the beginning, like how to get to your first 100K in revenue. And I'm not going to say it because I just kind of said it because that was like my mental goal, get to that figure. And in order to get there, you need customers. And actually the process of getting customers, regardless of any business, is actually really well documented. And is in this, the 4 stages that you see here. Obviously, this is a bit of an oversimplification. There's a lot that goes on, but there's, excuse me, these words might not mean too much for you. Maybe if you study marketing, it might mean a bit more. So I'll give it a bit more of an example. Let's say you're selling lemonade. The awareness is simply holding up a sign. And then conversion is when someone comes along and sees that you got some beautiful lemonade and pays some customers. They've gone from a stranger and converted into a customer. You fulfilled the order by pouring that lemonade. And then the person who bought the lemonade, your customer, goes and tells their friends about it. And then they become an advocate, which is kind of how we think about getting customers in for any business. And when we can lay things out like in this kind of pipeline, we can see that where do we focus our energy to get more bandwidth. Let's say we wanted to sell 10 glasses of lemonade every minute rather than just 1. Do we simply increase the number of people that can pour lemonade? Well, then you can do that, but then you'll notice that there'll be a bottleneck, right? You might be constrained somewhere else and then preventing you from getting to 10 glasses per minute. Or you might want to sell lemonade whilst you sleep, those kind of things. And by the way, I've mentioned all this because the default answer for a lot of businesses when they want to increase bandwidth at any particular stage is to throw like more people, more employees, or they will invest in technology. So they might invest in some software or some better process, like some better advertising process to increase bandwidth at one of these stages. And I'm laying all this groundwork because AI is increasingly becoming that default, right? And if you manage to use AI to increase the bandwidth at each one of those stages, then you can increase your revenue without increasing headcount, which essentially means increasing profit, right? That's a shorthand for that. So a more relatable example than lemonade, when I was selling lemonade here, we might be working on like a software as a service product. And so the awareness stage might simply be running an advert, let's say on LinkedIn or on Meta, Instagram or something. The conversion might be when they click on the advert and then they see your website and then they sign up for some kind of paid service. The fulfillment part is not constrained by a human or by time because you're building software. And that's why some of the most profitable businesses in the last like 30 or 40 years have been software, because this scales infinitely. And then we talk about advocacy. So you might have like referral codes or collecting testimonials, which enhances your ability to convert. And so how does AI actually apply to any of these verticals? I understand I stopped there. Is everyone following? Does this all make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Yeah, cool. All right. If it gets confusing at any point, please do stop me because yeah, we're all at a different stage and I want to make sure that the message is understandable to everyone. And so we look at AI for awareness in this pipeline. And how do we use AI to simply get more attention on our product? So first thing, before you spend a penny on advertising or on like hiring a sales person, it's important to know who your customer is. And that's kind of the most easy and kind of a gateway to using AI. You can use a tool like Claude Chat to simply say what you're trying to sell. And do you see my cursor, by the way?
Yep, can see your cursor.
Okay, good. So you know where I'm pointing. So what you're trying to sell and the person you're trying to sell to, so your customer. And then you can do a bunch of this. And then it's done a bunch of research. So going through the web, scraping a bunch of like old blog posts, going through the UCL website just to understand what that customer is. And then it's presented to me a bunch of research. So it's presented, I'm actually for me anyway, for me, that's most important is what media they consume. Because if I know where they consume stuff, then I know where to pay for ads, right? But it's not simply as blunt as that. It's also really important to know sort of the problems they experience. So there's no point trying to sell you, I don't know, an undergrad course when you're all postgrads, for example. And actually, can I do a quick test? Is everyone here from UCL? Can I test this on you, Tina? Do you listen to any of these podcasts?
Let's see. I listen to not these ones particularly, no.
Okay.
Yeah, but I do listen to other ones. Actually, there's one from our fellow UCL Hatchery founder. And I think that actually there's quite a few really good ones too. Stephen Bartlett too is really good. I listened to Diary on the CEO. So I think maybe not these ones. No.
Yeah, and this is a really good point that you just made, in that no matter how good your AI presents this information, nothing beats talking to your ideal customer, like I just did with Tina. So I've got a bit more insight there. But this is I can give this back to Tina, to my Claude Chat, and say, actually, I know someone that consumes their media in a different way. And this is really valuable because we're not simply working on our own. We work with our co-founders, we work with our teammates. And if we have this single source of truth, then we can say, when we go and hire, let's say, a designer to create some ads, we say, look, this is our customer type. This is what we're targeting right now. And, like, I view business as a series of experiments. And so I like to change one thing at a time. So we can lock this down and then see where that works, maybe, and we see how far we get. And then onto like something more concrete, we can use AI to generate ads, right? Content. We can use it to create LinkedIn posts, which we will probably love and can identify very quickly. But I think there's no shame in doing it. I think there's a bit of I run these workshops, right? And when people say, how do I create, the hand goes up and say, how do I create like a personalized ad strategy campaign? And I say, just use ChatGPT, because it's going to give you a bunch of variations, and you can maybe spend £10 on meta ads to see if it actually gets any clicks. And there's a bit of a frown about that. There's a bit of like looking down on it. But I think, we're here to get customers. And if this piece of information like solves a small problem in their mind, like there might be educational content in this, then why not? And also, because it's giving you lots of variations of it, you can try lots of things at the same time. All right. And then we lead on to AI for conversion. So that's the awareness part of it. I can give a little glimpse of how we can use AI to increase the awareness of your product. Now, once someone is aware of your product, how do you go and convert them? How do you go and open up their wallet to turn them into a customer? And there's sort of two predominant ways of doing so. First is have a website. They click on your ad and they land on your website. The second is they book a call. Right, there are other variations of this, but these are the two most common. These are the ones that you can probably do right away using AI or just using your own phone number. And let's walk through how we can go through. Let's talk about this one first. using a co-pilot as an assistant. So first and foremost, the most obvious one, the one I did when I initially started, was just talk to the AI and to say, you're about to do some sales, some outreach. Can you train with me? And then you can do some other things where you can use AI to kind of consolidate a lot of information. You might say this, like using Claude Chat again, this is the customer's website. Here's a bunch of documents. Here's my email thread with them. Just paste it in. There's no need to be anything more elaborate than that. And then you can say, yeah, I'm about to join a sales call. Like, here are some questions I might want to ask the customer to sound a bit more informed. I will talk more concretely about using AI to design landing pages. And my background is design, and I was a front-end developer for a while as well. So I like to separate the concern of design and build. I think there's a tendency and a temptation now to just open up Claude Code and just say build a website, but you're going to get not as good results. And the better way to do it is to design first. And let's say you just got an idea and you want to build your website. I would open up ChatGPT or Midjourney or Gemini and design each section step by step. And these names might not mean much to you right now, but as you scroll through a website, this is probably something you want to train your mind to, especially if you're in a business or trying to get customers. The next time you go on a website, just make a mental note of, what is this website kind of trying to do to me psychologically? So you're trying to convert me into a customer. Is it speaking my language? Like, which section is it? Are there any points where you just think, stop, I'm going to go? Like, what made you get off that page? And then keep a mental note of all those things so that you don't make those same mistakes. So in order to sell any product using a website, you need a hero section, proof section, pricing section, and all of these other sections. I'm showing these here now. And my process is, I will create a bunch of variations. I will then go to my customers and say, which variation resonates best with you? I'll hassle my family members, my friends, and just figure out what works best. All right, because if we did the workflow that I described earlier, of simply going straight into Claude Code and say, build me a website. Firstly, that takes quite a long time to do. Even though you're using AI, it still takes a while to do. But to get something in front of a customer, you have to deploy it, you have to put on a URL, and then you put it up and then share a link. But by that time, it's very hard for them to give you feedback. Right here, they can say, I like the top one, I like the bottom one. But if you give them a fully made website, most people don't know how to give the right feedback. And then we've designed a proof section, the pricing section, etc., etc. And the tool I use is simply ChatGPT. And then once I have all of those sections, then I can copy those into Claude Code and then ask it to build it. But by then, I'm confident that I know what works. And this is a product that I am building with my co-founder, which is an online course to teach Claude Code. And it's already got about 3 people signed up for the £500 tier. So it works. And then this stage is going to be a bit lighter, AI for fulfillment. Actually, before I go into that, is there any questions about what I've talked about so far? Okay, we have a question. How many customers do you ask for feedback, and how do you select which customers to ask? Ideally, as many as possible. I would say the ultimate validation is being paid. So if you can take a straight path to getting, if they're paying you, there's no need to kind of like, hey, what do you think about this design? It works. I would simply use this. So I paint you a picture of the scenario. Like me, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm sitting at home with an idea, and I have some kind of vision of how it's going to pan out. It typically takes, like, I don't personally believe in side hustles. I think you should go all in on an idea. So there's emotional energy, there's time, there's actual energy that goes into an endeavor. So you kind of want to make sure that energy isn't going along the right place. Hopefully that answers your question. So I'll ask as many people as possible. And then very quickly put up something with a payment link. And if I'm getting customers, then I know that at least some people are interested in it. You can also run adverts. I don't know, this is probably going to be your secret weapon as a founder. I know a lot of people don't talk about it, but if you know how to run adverts, then you get a bunch of data on at least what people click on. So you can say, like, if I spent £10 and I got 1,000 clicks, that's pretty good. Okay, so then hopefully that answers your question, Vishal. Ash, I see you got your hand up. Would you like to?
How easy was it for you to move from front-end screen designs into Cloud Code?
It was pretty straightforward. So what I would do is, so let's say I had this hero section, and I will copy that into Claude Code. Right, there's a shortcut on a Mac. Are you using a Mac or Windows?
Windows.
Okay, you can use a shortcut. It's called Windows key Shift S. Do you know about that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And then it copies it to your clipboard. If you guys are on a Mac, you can use Command Control Shift 4. And then, I don't know if you see this cursor, this thing brings up. You probably can't see that. But and then you can copy, and then it goes into your clipboard, and you can paste. Now that you can copy paste, you can paste that into Claude Code, and you can say, like, design my hero section. And
okay, so you reference it then.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you need to know your way around tech stacks, and like Claude Code is a pretty advanced tool. If you have a technical background, then you're likely to get better results out of it. If you're non-technical, then yeah, there's probably other tools you might want to use, something like Lovable or something. I have some other questions. Is that all right, Ash? Did I answer your question?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, so Yi, hopefully I can pronounce your name correctly. We've been struggling to get user interviews and validate our ideas in the UK. Is there a way to tackle this? Yi, I'm going to answer your question in the Q&A section. Is that all right? I'm going to come back to that. And then Max says, and also could Vivek or Tina remind me of Yi's question, please? So Max says, yes. I'd recommend Claude Design for design and mockups of websites, since it gives you tweakable fantastic. Thank you, Max. That's a really good idea. And Vishal says, for CRM and sales pipeline, are there any platforms you recommend? Say 100 customers, 10,000 leads. We will get onto that actually, Vishal, but very quickly, I use ClickUp, which is a project management tool and is not designed for CRM. I know you can use HubSpot. I found HubSpot too confusing. And I would not ever and if I had 10,000 leads, I'll simply use Google Sheets, because they're not your customers yet. Those are simply strangers. So you don't want them inside your project management tool. Does that answer your question? Thank you. Okay, so where was I? Okay, so you can use Claude Code. This is a really, really like amazing tool. And then we talk about AI for fulfillment. This is going to be the lightest section of all, because you're likely already using, I'm going to make it an assumption that you're already using AI to build your products. And if you're building a software product, your fulfillment is the software. But if you're like a service-based company like me, then I would still use mostly Claude Chat and Claude Cowork to draft proposals, like write statements of work, enter things into a CRM. Previously mentioned, I use ClickUp, and then personalize any templates for the particular customer. And again, if you're doing anything to do with software, your delivery mechanism is going to be agentic engineering at this stage. There's a few things you can do with, I haven't personally done this, but I just added in as like inspiration. But most companies now transcribe every meeting using AI. And I think you might be able to like course correct. If there's a particular project that's not going very well, you can use the AI to give you to do sentiment analysis or something. Yeah, I kind of put this in for inspiration. I don't do this myself. And there's automated follow-ups, which is kind of a no-brainer. And then there's advocacy, trying to get people to recommend to their friends or to sign up for more services. And the best way that I think of doing this is that you want to tie, again, I said I work on a service-based business. You want to tie everything up with a bow, but likely your this is not revenue generating activities. So it's perfect to put it in, to assign this to an AI. And what I like to use it for is just a post-project report. So at the end, when we've done the work, simply say, thank you for everything we've done. Here's all of our timelines. Here's everything that we met. And this is simply can be drawn out of your project management tool. All right. Even inside ClickUp, there's an AI bot. I will just simply use that. I don't make it any more complicated than that. All right. So that concludes the AI for business section. And now I'm going to talk about the automation part for founders. And can I get a raise of hands of anyone that's either heard of N8N or Make or Zapier? Okay. So I think a lot of people haven't heard of these automation tools. And let's see what I can do about that. What order should I? I'll show you a screen share later. I wasn't planning on, but I'll do like sort of a live demo. But what are these tools that I just mentioned are, if you can imagine like a node editor, you can say, when something happens, do this, hook into some AI brain and then do this. So it's sort of creating these, you hear about these AI agents that have been going around the internet. This is sort of, it's a badly named term for it. An AI, if you're kind of purist about it, an AI agent, these aren't AI agents, but everyone in the kind of marketing sphere calls these AI agents because they kind of are digital employees. I'd probably just call them digital employees or just automated workflows. I will frame this in a few ways. But like before you start to think about automating things, I think it's important to understand what works, right? Because when you're very early stage, I think the most valuable thing for you as a founder is to learn like cause and effect. Yes, you can probably, let's say you're doing sales and you can hire a sales agency. They can get you 500 meetings booked for a few £1,000s, but you didn't learn a thing about how they got those meetings. And so I think it's going to be painful, but if you can learn that skill of getting awareness and getting a meeting booked or getting some kind of sign up, that's going to serve you like more long term, and it'll be kind of cheaper along the line. So when you can do that, and every single business there are commonalities on, let's say the example is booking a meeting, getting someone to book a meeting with you. There are various ways to do that. So for my particular business, what I would do is I will run a workshop that anyone can turn up to, and then people will naturally come up to me at the end and say, hey, can you train our team in this? And so that's sort of something that I've learned. It wasn't apparent to me straight away. I kind of built my business around that because I thought, oh, there's a lot of attention I'm getting. How can I turn that attention into something that's repeatable? And next I'll systemize that. So I keep systemizing it is, if you heard of SOPs, like standard operating procedures, I think they stand for. It's a way where you can teach a new hire how to do a certain thing when you can do that. And it's like, if you can systemize something, like give the right tools and the right knowledge to someone, and you can remove yourself from that process, then you can scale. And then ultimately you can automate once you can do that. And there are certain things that you can just probably skip the first two. If it's simply like when someone sends you an email, create an entry inside my project management tool. That's like a no-brainer. I wouldn't bother trying to learn if that actually works. But if it's a complicated workflow where you're spending time getting tools, maybe there's a human element to it, it's probably good as a learning for you. So that's so I'm going to run through two problems, like to make this grounded in reality, and we're going to figure out how we can automate that. So the first problem is lead enrichment, and I will highlight a few words here just to explain them. When I mention lead, a lead means someone that you will target. A lead simply in terms of data is a first name, last name, email address, and their company. That's all a lead is, and they don't know you. And so if someone that doesn't know you or they're not willing to buy from you, we'll call that a cold lead. as opposed to a warm lead, right? Hopefully by the end of this session, you guys might become warm leads for me, so I can have a conversation with you and potentially sell you something. That's not the purpose of this talk. I'm not trying to sell anything, but that's just how it is. So the problem is I want to do lead enrichment. So enrichment means I've got those, what did I say? First name, last name, company, and email. And then I want to enrich that by saying, because I want to email them. I don't want to simply say, hey, it's Mark, buy my thing. I want to build up some rapport. So again, the next time you open up your inbox and you see like someone just hassling you about like selling you some service, maybe even just say, yeah, sure. Like sign up for, like, what's the next stage? Just to learn how these sales reps are doing it. Right, you'll be wasting their time, but they're like hassling you, so why not? And so we enrich it by understanding what their company does, what their pain points are. We understand maybe where they're hanging out. They might be attending an upcoming conference, and then you can really tailor your outreach message like so. The problem that you'll encounter when you do cold email is that they're not going to reply to you, right? You should expect that. Maybe 1 in 100 is a good reply rate. And then you can start to optimize to increase that to 2 in 100 to 3% to 4%. They'll likely not reply to a generic email. You sort of somehow to do this creative balancing act, this artistic act of trying to get their attention, become across as friendly, but also sell them something. So you'll learn it in due time. And your leads are busy, so they'll likely see your email and then they'll forget about it. And so the workflow goes like this. You've got this on the left-hand side, the 4 elements, and then you want to craft a message 1 that you'll send on day 1, a message 2 is the follow-up, and then a message 3. There might be a message 4, message 5, etc. And then you schedule it and send it. And some people, I mentioned N8N, this is N8N. Some people are tempted to use N8N for this workflow because they think automation tool. And I'll explain why this is a bad fit. There's another example where it's a good fit, where I'll talk about later. So you say your content, your leads live inside some kind of Google Sheet. You do some validation to make sure that all of those fields are there. And then you use an AI model to generate the messages. Right, you will, just like you would with ChatGPT. So per row, you'll do that, and then you now have 3 messages, and then you go and append that row back into the Google Sheet. Hopefully that was, you could follow all that. And the reason why this is not a good fit is because you will have to go row by row. It'll get triggered every time. Actually, this trigger is done every minute. It's done by something called polling, not like a webhook. And so you're likely to hit rate limits very quickly. It's quite slow because you're doing it row by row. And then you have to do some manual parsing to get what the model gave you and then put that back into kind of a Google Sheet friendly format. So for instances where you're generating a lot of content, I wouldn't use an automation tool for it. I'd probably simply, oh yeah, here are the prompts I use. So this is the system prompt. So you are a cold email expert, blah, blah, blah. The important bit is like the format. Yeah, I wouldn't use it because you're trying to create structured content. And if you're running lots of queries, that's going to be a high API bill, but also you will likely encounter hallucinations. So the hallucination won't be dramatic. They might just be, there's a missing curly brace, or it's not following the right format. And then your entire pipeline breaks. So what I'd rather do is use Claude Cowork. I'll mention what Instantly is in a little bit, but I'll use Claude Cowork. I have that. And Claude Cowork is like Claude Chat, but it has access to your files. And it is aimed at non-technical people, which at first I thought, hey, I'm technical, why would I use Claude Cowork? But actually it's perfect for like a sales kind of geared problem like this. So I've got my list of things. I'll upload it into Claude Cowork. I will ask it to create a new comma separated value file, like an Excel file, and then adding in the messages. So it'll go from, let's say this one, of course I've given public names, I don't kind of share any private data. And then you can say, these are the drip sequence. And then at that point, you're left with this part, which again, people might be tempted to say, oh, I need to schedule something on some kind of timer. Let's use N8N. But the problem with using N8N here is that if you send 100 emails from Gmail at any point, you're probably going to get highlighted as spam. And especially if your inbox is cold, like if you've never emailed anyone ever, and then you start to email like hundreds and thousands of emails, your inbox is probably going to be flagged as spam. And there are a few tools you can run on your inbox, on your domain, your email domain, to check if you are actually flagged as spam. I'll probably share that as a follow-up link later. And so I said that it's a poor tool to use N8N. Firstly, you're gonna have to build out all this infrastructure. So much better is use a tool called Instantly. And Instantly, something I'm not affiliated with, but it solves the issue of essentially being flagged as spam. But it also means that you can, this enriched leads that you'll see, you can upload that directly. So it's got, remember I said it's got first name, last name, company, and then all these things. It's going to upload that exactly as it is. And then you can just say, send the first message on Monday, second message on a Thursday, the third message on a Sunday. So we're automating, but we're not using the obvious automating tools. And then our second problem actually has, is everyone following that problem there? Thank you. We have our second problem is, let's say we've got our drip sequence all sequenced up, automated. And now when someone replies, what we need to do is actually stop the follow-up emails, which is just simply a checkbox in Instantly, that's fine. But when they reply, someone on the team needs to pick up and say, hey, oh, look, someone's actually interested, they could be a potential customer. And ideally anyone on the team can pick up that email. And then here's the sequence, is that this person, the lead, has replied. So Dario, for some reason, says, yeah, I'd love some AI training. And then you reply. And then we immediately stop those schedule up follow-up emails, and then we add them to our CRM because they're now someone that's worthy of our attention. Previously, someone said they had 10,000 leads. Should they add them to a CRM? I said no. It's because this will get very bloated very quickly, and no one will be able to tell what's good information from bad information. Ideally, inside your CRM, which is a client relation management tool, and by the way, you probably can use Google Sheets for this. You could even use your Notepad if you're very early. Even if you've got like 5 customers, like I have, just use your pen and paper. All right, but as you grow, as you add like more team members then, or virtual assistants, then it makes sense to do inside a tool like ClickUp. And so that's the automation. When they reply, I want this to stop and I want it to be added to the CRM. So let's see how that looks like, how we would set that up. First, we'll connect Gmail as a N8N trigger. And then we'll also connect to ClickUp using N8N. And that's why I've mentioned this tool quite a few times. And if I can screen share to that tool, that would be really good at this point.
You have a question in the chat, Mark.
Oh yeah. What do you use for CRM other than Google Sheets?
I think you answered that, Mark. It's fine.
Okay. Oh, thanks, Ash. So here's N8N. So if you've never seen this before, I will kind of give you a little explanation. Everything that can be automated has a trigger. So that trigger, if it's not automated, it's someone clicking something, right? That's a manual trigger. But you can trigger things on a timer. So you can say trigger every hour or every half hour. You can trigger when an email gets received. You can trigger, let's see here, you can add in some other triggers. You can trigger when someone fills in a form. You can trigger on what's called a webhook. So a webhook is when another service, let's say your project management tool, something happens there, it can call a webhook. That's probably the worst explanation of a webhook. Let's look at app event. Let's say, actually, you know what? Let's say Gmail. That's the most relatable one. So if I double click in here, we can see that there is where we added credentials. And then if you focus your attention here, it's the poll time. So how often do I want to check that Gmail inbox? So I put it to 1 hour so that I don't hit any rate limits. And then the type of event that gets triggered. So you can see here, I put it on message received. So that's the trigger. So that is what initiates the workflow. And I can probably, so what I did before this call is I sent from my email address. So I know there's a lot to look at. Maybe I can make it more simplified. Okay, maybe this is a bit easy to look at. What I did before this call is that to initiate this workflow, I sent from my own email address, like I was pretending to be a customer. I said, let's do business. And I sent it to this is my sales inbox. And then I sent this message. Hey, interested in your services, let's talk, Mark. And we can, this is good data, and we can call this unstructured data. Like structured data would be like first name, Mark, second name, Nguyen, company, my company, you know, that's structured data. This is unstructured data. And AI is really good at parsing unstructured data. So I use this node here called an information extractor. And you can see here that it hooks into this OpenAI chat model. And then so from what I'll do is I'll say on the left-hand side, now I'm trying to explain this bit by bit. On the left-hand side, you can see all the information that you can receive from the trigger. So you can see this line here. This is all the information that is acquired during this trigger. And then on this side, we can grab the bits that are interesting for us. So we can form, now we're sort of forming a prompt for our LLM, for our AI. So so from all of this, I'm crafting my own prompt. And then I'm going to say what I want to extract. So I'm going to give this the lead name. I will call it, give it a description. So this is just instructing the LLM how it's going to get the lead name. And I also want the company name. Again, I'll give instructions on how to grab that. And I think if I can do this, you can see the kind of before and after. I've got this, and then hopefully you'll see structured data. Yeah, you can see that, which is going to be useful because inside my CRM, which is ClickUp, a project management tool, I can now have, rather than have all that messy data, I've now got structured data that I can say, okay, ignore all of this, but what I'm going to do is say, create a task inside my one of my tables. That's essentially what I'm doing. And then if I open up, you can see here that is automated inside here. That's automatically added. And then finally, I want to message someone on the team. So again, I can use a Gmail node and to simply say, hey team, just automatically added a new lead to our CRM. Can someone please follow up? And because what was the really beautiful thing about when I use this create task node is that I've given it input, which is lead name and company name, but it also gives me outputs. It gives me, within here, sorry, within here, it gives me an output, which is the URL of the, which is essentially this. And so within that, I've got a direct link that I send to my team to say, like, pick this up, reply. And if you're imagining before we have this, is that you're sending out maybe 100, 200 emails a day. Some people reply and potentially they get lost. But now they're in here. We can even assign a priority to it, like urgent, that can be part of the automation workflow. And we can say, look, someone's just replied, we should really get on this. You might be able to add in, use AI again to do a bit of information and say, what's the company size? If the company size is below 50, maybe put the urgency to like normal. But if the company size is 10,000 or 100,000, then you're like, urgent, this is like a well, we want to get on this right now. And that's how I would use automation in sales. Any questions? Oh, I see some questions here. Can you do this with LinkedIn messages? I don't know. Sorry.
I think to answer your question, Vishal, there is an app called Dripify on LinkedIn that you can use that they automate the process too. And it gradually increases in amounts based on, I think, so as you increase in the weeks, it will increase the number of outreach. So it's natural and it looks more, it won't be blocked by LinkedIn basically. So apparently it's very good. Yes. Yes, I believe Nguyen actually has used that too. Dripify.
Nice.
Yeah, I have. I've been struggling with the same problem. I tried to actually automate some LinkedIn on NAN. NAN can do LinkedIn posts for you, but yeah, it requires quite a lot of technical setup, and I just couldn't hack it. So Dripify is better for that, and Dripify also has other tools like curating your inbox as well for inbound. Yeah, and it will run your LinkedIn campaign for you. Yeah, so I do recommend Dripify. Thank you.
Very nice. Actually, I had a question. It was back to the customer journey. Can someone share what their customer journey looks like?
I think that's a bit of a challenging one since we're all startups, but I think for MentorMind, we had it's definitely looking like the customer journey is warm outreach rather than cold, pilots with schools, and then potential conversion to customers. We've tried quite a bit of cold outreach. It's really quite challenging to do, but again, we're early stages of that. I've got basically a list of like 2,000 school leaders, Bo, and I've got the same problem. Is that we've tried some automation with NAN, sort of been loading sort of 50 contacts at a time to test things, and I fear that we have the exact issue you've highlighted of the company email account being classified as spam, and then the email's not going through, which is why I stopped that and was looking for a solution. So what you've talked about is really, really useful for us. So we definitely will, after this call, explore Instantly and Claude Code. Yeah.
Do you use your own domain for that?
Sorry, my own what?
Like, do you use Nguyen at Mentor?
Yeah, so we've been using
don't do that.
Yeah, Nguyen, we've been using the company email, so mentormind.com. Yeah.
Right away. Everyone in this call, do not do cold emails from your domain.
Yep. Okay. So what, you use personal emails for like no. What are we meant to?
No. Let's say your brand is MentorMind.
Yeah.
So you have the echo. I think it's from you. Is that okay with you? Thank you. Maybe call it getmentormind.com or trymentormind.com is a domain solely for cold emails, because what will happen is that you will eventually get banned. and you don't want to have that happen to your official domain.
Really important to know. Thank you, Bo.
Okay, I will show you what my instantly looks like. So I actually don't use it as much as I should. And by the way, this isn't the only way. I didn't do this for the first year of doing business. I didn't even know it existed actually until recently. So I'm still, but you can see here, my official domain is, let me whack that up, thedesignengineer.com. And I've got a bunch of other stuff, right? Other domains that I bought by these like 20 quid each, and then pay for a Google business account, like £7 a month or something for each. And they're different. They're all just different from my domain. So eventually when they get banned or marked as spam, then it doesn't hurt my real domain. I believe now we're on to the Q&A section. But if you guys forgive me for doing a bit of just housekeeping and a bit of promo, I have a workshop coming up in London on this Thursday. Actually, we go through some of the things we talked about today, more going on the Claude Code side. So it's typically, last time we had it's in Aldgate East, which is pretty close to Liverpool Street. So we had CMOs, CEOs, some pretty like nice business folk in there. And it was a good kind of network as well. It is 3 hours long. You bring a laptop and we learn how to use Claude Code for like in a business setting. So please do check that out. And now, if everyone scan that, we'll go into the Q&A. And sorry, I've only left 1 minute for it. Sorry, Tina.
No worries. We can go a little bit over because we started 5 minutes past. And also, I want to mention we can share any of these if you'd like us to share that with the audience, the QR code, etc. It can be emailed to them.
Okay, thank you. That's very kind of you, Tina.
And I believe we also have Yi's question.
Yes. Okay, see you later, Max. Thank you for your suggestion on Claude Design. Yi's question, can somebody find it for me, please?
So Yi's question is, we've been struggling to get user interviews and validate our ideas in the UK. Is there a way to tackle this?
You could interview me right now. Why don't we do it live? And we can sort of diagnose what the issue is.
Hello?
Hey, Yi.
Hi. Yeah, so we've been running a couple of like beta partnerships in Hong Kong and China, and they're a little bit more receptive in terms of just testing our product. We're still working towards like a proper MVP at the moment, but I think with the UK, there's still a bit of hesitancy. So we've done a lot of like cold outreach, using like LinkedIn messages and like emails. We were thinking about automating it as well, but we weren't really exactly sure if there was like a way for way for us to leverage AI to be a little bit more successful in terms of our cold outreach.
What's your solution? What's your product?
Yeah, so our product is basically like predictive air cooling. So we use a very specific type of neural network architecture to look into like predictive air cooling solutions.
Okay. How many, like, what's your quantity of outreach in the UK? How many have you done so far?
So we've done around 50 at the moment, but they haven't replied to us. We've done LinkedIn messages and emails and stuff, but yeah.
Tempted to say, let's chat when you've done 1,000 or maybe 2,000. 50 is very low numbers. But well done on like your problem and getting reception back in. Is it in Hong Kong?
Yes, so we've already established a couple of like partnerships. We have a few like people who are like strategic advisors helping us in Hong Kong and China at the moment. But because we want to shift our focus on the EU and UK market, we just want a couple of people from the UK and EU. So we were just wondering if there was some way for us to leverage AI to be a little bit more successful.
Oh, okay. Not necessarily AI, but probably if there's a way to get a warm intro. that might be it. If you can sort of, if you know what your ideal contact is, maybe like the degrees of separation to get to that contact. Like, do they go to that conference? Can you see them in person? Can you turn up? Yeah, it's quite a niche what you're saying. It's like very B2B, right? And there's very few players in your space, right? So you need to get quite cozy with those people, right? What I'm doing, I'm kind of generic training, so kind of what I teach is it's more like B2C, like like it's a bit of an easier sell, right? And it's low ticket as well, what I do compared to what you do probably.
Okay.
But yeah, good luck and really good question.
Okay, so I'm just gonna do a quick roundup, and of course, thank you so much to Mark for sharing your time and expertise, and all of these amazing tips and insights on using Claude Code, as well as NAN. All of this we will also share with our audience today. And if you found this session valuable, and if you would like to attend our future events, we have some networking events coming up in September. So Freshers Week for UCL. If you're around in London area, feel free to come join us. We also have hosted past events at UCL Base KX, so that's just about 10-minute walk from King's Cross Station. So about founders in the UCL Hatchery, as well as the UCL community, all come and attend our events. It was a success. Around February, our last workshop on founders' resilience and mindset on how to pivot under pressure. So that was some of the themes that we talked about. So if you're interested in joining this journey alongside our community, please feel free to join us and scan the QR code here to register your interest and get a copy of the link for the recording as well today. So that would be the link that's currently showing at the top, Scammy, for registering your future interest, as well as signing up to get a link from the recording. And of course, feel free to join us at MentorMind on LinkedIn, as well as Mark and me and Vivek's QR code that you have earlier. So yeah, we hope you all enjoy the session, and feel free to send an email if you have any further questions, and we'd like to share your question with Mark as well. Thank you all for your time. And so Vivek, would you like to? Yeah. And thank you, Mark. Lovely to meet everyone today.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.